All right, so we already talked about the buyer's funnel or the buying journey already, but we're going to touch on it on each of these presentation decks too, because each solution applies to different stages in the funnel. That means each solution has a different way to engage with your target audience depending on where they are on their buyer's journey. You know, the big question over the past couple of years is whether Facebook is still relevant in the business world as it pertains to engaging with your business's target audience? And the answer is absolutely yes. It may not be the giant dominating force that it once was because there are so many social media platforms out there that are effective, like TikTok, Snapchat, etc. But users are still on Facebook. And because users are still on Facebook, it still has to be relevant to your marketing strategy. Almost 3 billion monthly Facebook users are still logging in and using the platform. Along with that, its Meta counterpart, Instagram, is seeing 2 billion monthly users. A lot of those people may be the same. There may be some overlap there, but what we do know about social media is social media users, although they tend to have more than one platform and they use them all. For example, I have almost everything under the sun, partially because it's my business to have these things and know how they work, but I only use one more than the others. I use Facebook and YouTube probably way more than I use Instagram and definitely Snapchat and TikTok. I'm on those like once a month. So I do have the platforms, but I use one of them more than I use the others. And that's true for almost everybody. And we'll touch on that a little bit more here in just a little bit. But the important thing to know from this slide, and probably the main takeaway from this training material here, is that Facebook and Instagram are still wildly popular. They're very heavily used, and you can still find your target audience on those platforms. Okay, Facebook offers unique options to target people who are already your followers, friends of your fans, and people who like things similar to your products and services. Which brings me to an important point. There's a very specific difference between organic social media presence and paid social media advertising campaigns. The main difference is a lot of businesses want to put too much focus on how many followers they have and what types of content that's being posted to their pages on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And while that stuff is still very important to establish that presence, especially to regenerate those repeat customers, it doesn't help you gain new customers at the rate that advertising campaigns would. So best way to think of it is like this. The only people that can see your daily, weekly, monthly posts on Facebook and Instagram are people who are already following you, and that's a good thing for you. That's a good way to get some free content in front of those people. But the only way to reach people outside of your current, already established network is to run paid advertising campaigns on these platforms, because we can create a target audience based off of who your ideal customer is, and we can put an ad in front of those people regardless of whether they already follow you or not. Most Facebook campaigns, our solution included, will automatically put ads on Instagram as well. You can determine how much of a campaign goes on Facebook and goes on Instagram if you want to manually affect that, or you can run ads separately, one through Facebook and one through Instagram, just depending on what's best for you. Because both of these platforms are part of the Meta universe, one campaign will serve to both platforms. Okay, here's what I talked about a few minutes ago. Facebook posts are posted on your account's page and shared to a limited amount of your followers and friends. And that's important because not all of your followers or friends are going to see every post. It's actually a very small percentage, usually about 10 to 15%. Not all of your followers are on the platform every day. Not all of your followers are engaging with you to the level that they need to be served that content on a consistent basis. All of the algorithm details really start to play a factor with your posts. It's all about engagement. It's all about activity. It's all about how popular Facebook thinks your page is to a specific person. And with all of that said, posts will only reach a limited number of people based off of your follower list and nothing more. You can pay to boost a post. I'm sure a lot of you have done this before, because in my experience in talking to business owners, I know that a lot of business owners use Facebook. A lot of business owners tend to boost their own posts, and they think that that's an ad campaign. It is a form of advertising, and it is better for reach and extended reach than a standard post would be without boosting it, but it's not quite an ad campaign. It's good. You should do it if you like, but getting a little bit more well-versed in how ad campaigns work or hiring it to reach the right types of people is really the best way to go. Facebook ads appear next to other posts from friends, but do not appear on your page. That's also important. I've talked to a lot of clients who we're running Facebook ads for, and they go to their page to look for it, and it's not there. And the reason that it's not there is because of a post. It doesn't stay on your page. We're not paying to put a post on your page. Your target audience isn't coming to your page to see your posts most often than not. The way that Facebook and Instagram users behave is they get on their own feeds and they just scroll and they interact with what they want to interact with. So they may click on your profile to go visit it that way, but they're not actively seeking out your profile just to see your posts. You'll have ones and twos here and there, but in general, people are just engaging with their own newsfeed. And that's the difference between posts and ads. Posts, yes, they will show on people's news feeds, but they won't show with the consistency or the specific targeting proficiency that an ad will. Using highly customizable targeting with ads to reach any kind of audience on Facebook, even if they don't follow your brand's page. That's the key to these social media advertising campaigns. You can build an audience based off of who your target customer is and say, I want people who live within this geographic radius, my city plus 25 miles, for example. I want people who are interested in baseball, football, country music, beer, and movies. And I want people who have engaged with this type of content and people who are friends of my followers. And that's how we would generate an audience of people who may or may not even be aware that you exist, much less followers of your page already. And we put that ad on their newsfeed right in front of them to catch them as they're scrolling in their own little world. That's how social media advertising differs from social media organic posting, and that's how we can engage with new target customers to try to get them into that buying funnel and get them to the point that they convert into a paying customer of yours. The average time a user spends on Facebook every day is 35 minutes. That doesn't seem like a lot of time, but when you consider that's one of the many, if not dozens of websites and platforms they'll visit that day, it's a pretty large amount of time. 79% of Americans regularly use Facebook. That's so important because a lot of businesses and a lot of experts will tell you that Facebook isn't popular anymore, and it's just not the case. If you don't advertise on Facebook, you could potentially miss out on 8 out of 10 people. That's enormous. 1.8 billion is the number of users on Facebook who are connected with a business. That is almost a quarter of the world population who is using Facebook to connect with businesses. And if you're not advertising on Facebook, you're going to be missing that piece of the pie. Okay, here's the buyer's journey or the buyer funnel we touched on a little bit before. And here's how Facebook is relevant to each stage in that funnel. Like I said before, we can't skip the steps. So branding and awareness is always going to be the first place that we start. We can get on Facebook with an image carousel, a shopping ad, a video ad is always going to do better than static images. We put that on your page, build an ad campaign with that target audience, and you put it in front of people who care about your stuff just to plant the seed. Remember, it's all about top of mind awareness getting started. Plant the seed means get your name, your logo, your service, your goods, your products in front of people, to introduce you to them so that they're aware that you exist first. That's the first step. And then we do it again until we reach that frequency that we talked about. Once we reach enough frequency, once we've reached that target customer enough times that your name, your brand, your good, your service, your benefit to them is embedded in their mind, we've won half the marketing battle. Now we continue to do that with other products and with other strategies on this platform. And we continue to hammer home the message, hammer home the branding, drill it into their minds who you are, where you are, what you do. That's it. Okay, Facebook can also target your existing customers by using the list of your customers' emails to target ads to their Facebook accounts. Okay, it's just part of the back end of the ad campaign strategy on Facebook. There's just how you set up the campaigns, but we can affect the consideration phase by mining the voluntarily offered email addresses for these accounts of these users on Facebook. And now we're able to directly engage them by targeting their specific email addresses and their accounts directly. Okay, and then we also have campaigns specifically designed for lead generation. So part of the campaign building process, again, on the back end, when you build campaigns, you're able to decide how you want the campaign to focus. Branding and awareness. Do you want it to be just on website traffic, or do you want it to focus on conversion, which is where you can set up your Facebook ad campaign to generate lead information from your user, name, phone number, email address, what they're interested in, right there on Facebook. Facebook will then send you the lead form. Now you've got a potential customer in your messages that you can engage with. All of this stuff is available inside Facebook's ad manager to help you generate the right type of ad campaign to reach your customer and convert them into a buyer. Okay, here's the different types of ad creative. So I like to say that 80% of marketing is the reach and frequency. The other 20% is the creative message. Creative is everything. What I mean by creative is the image, the video, the audio, the text that you're using in your ad that engages with your customer, that tells the story. Okay, what does that look like, sound like, feel like? And how effective is it going to be to converting people? It's important because without the right type of creative, you're not going to get people to respond. If the video is low quality, or the lighting on the video is bad, or the audio doesn't sound good, or the picture is dark or grainy or at the wrong angle or any of those things, your engagement rate is going to go down tremendously. People just aren't going to take you seriously as a business if your creative doesn't look, sound, and feel inviting, interesting, and professional. Okay. Now, these types of creatives are available on Facebook and Instagram. There's standard images, and there's videos, and there's shopping ads, and there's image carousels. You always have the ability to write your own caption and include a click-through link. So when a user clicks to engage that post or learn more or shop now, then it takes them to a landing page on your website or wherever you'd have them go to finish that transaction. So the creative is really important here, because if you manage to reach the right customer and the creative turns them off, you may never get them back again. Okay, different types of ads are carousels. So this is a collection of different images that the user can scroll through. Shopping collection. So if you are in retail or have a specific collection of merchandise that you're advertising, you can publish a collection that has a headline, a caption with a main image, and then several clickable images with pricing underneath. So a user can shop by specific image and actually buy your product on Facebook without having to leave the platform at all. Same is true for Instagram. Okay, same is true here. The Facebook Instant experience has taken out a lot of the hassle from taking a user from Facebook to a website and having them figure out how to navigate the website to complete a transaction. Facebook and Instagram have now implemented an instant experience that keeps them on their platforms and complete the transaction there. Okay, lead generation, as we talked about before, we're able to build lead generation forms on the back end of ads. So after a user clicks on an ad, it just asks them a few questions, typically their name, phone number, email address, and depending on the ad, maybe a little bit more information. And then Facebook will take that lead and message it to you so that you can finish contacting the customer and completing the transaction yourself. Okay. When building our target audience, there are a lot of different factors that we can affect and manipulate to make sure that the audience that we're trying to reach is relevant to the product or service or business that we're trying to get in front of them. We can look for people employed in certain industries or at certain companies. We can look for people who have kids or have recently been married. We can look at interests like what sports teams they like, what they're into, and we can look at geography and demographics. Where do they live? How far away from a specific place do they live? And, their gender, age, language, any of those aspects that could be relevant to what you're trying to capture. And that's how social media marketing and advertising works. Knowing the difference between posts and paid ad campaigns, which we talked about, and you should be doing both of them, but also knowing which type of ad campaign is going to be most effective for your business, your service, or your product, and implement more than one if you want. Do some A/B testing between this one and that one to see which one works best. Do some audience testing between, this specific audience that I built versus this one, and this geography versus this one, and this demographic versus this one. Continue to do those types of things to figure out what works best for you, and do it on each ad campaign that you try to run. Now, as a concept, this is how all digital marketing and advertising campaigns work. We're able to build an audience based off of demographics, geography, interests, etc. We're able to build the creative that will resonate with that audience, and we can put that message in front of those users on that specific platform so that we can reach an extended audience who may not know who we are or where we are or what we do, and plant seeds for them to eventually try to convert them into customers of ours. The only difference between social media platforms and the rest of the internet is social media platforms are proprietary to themselves. If we want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram, we have to run separate campaigns for Facebook and Instagram. Same is true for YouTube. Same is true for Snapchat. Same is true for TikTok. They all have their own proprietary ad softwares, and we have to go through those platforms if we want to reach our audience on those platforms. And that's why we talk about a blended approach, because of all the places that your user could go online, we want to make sure that we're there. We want to make sure that we're communicating with them everywhere they could turn. And if we're skipping social media or we're skipping the rest of the internet, instead of combining them into blended campaigns, then we're going to miss those people when they turn off any specific website. That's what we don't want to happen. We want to catch them everywhere they can turn, which is a good transition into our next chapter, where we'll talk about how video is king in this day and age, and how platforms like pre-roll video, streaming TV, and YouTube can really help communicate with your target customer in an effective way. We'll see you there.